Hello and welcome to our monthly coaching. I'm Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino here with Kris Fuller, and we take these moments to talk about Percolate and just have a really nice conversation with you. And I think this one's going to be really special, don't you, Kris?
Yeah, I do. So we do use Elizabeth's book, Percolate, as our guide. And what I love about this book is you can literally flip to any page and find value. The stories that she writes, the anecdotes from her life, are designed that you can really just go to that page and go, what happened that year or that moment in her life, and the guidance and help. And so it's a really great tool for us as coaches to just simply have a conversation. And that is really a lot of our coaching style is conversational. As coaches, we don't have all the answers and solutions, and we would never dream of saying, you need to do this like some kind of bossy boots, bossy pants. But through the conversation is the questions that will help you find value, the questions that will challenge you to say to yourself, and here's that quote that's on the back of Percolate: is there a voice inside of you that's urging you to make changes and seek a richer, more fulfilling life? And so that question, I think, is paramount for all of the coaching that we do. And in fact, so much of what we stand for at Best of You.
I agree. And if you're reading that too, sometimes we're adapting to changes that are unforeseen as well. So Percolate applies really to both circumstances. If you're really looking for change and you don't exactly know what you want to do, but you know you need to do something, or if you're adapting to an unforeseen circumstances, this conversation is really, you're in the right spot listening to us with this. So one of the first things that we talk about is, I would almost add like acceptance/allow, like we always do, Kris. So let's talk about that, acceptance and allowing. When you know you need to make a change or you're dealing with an unforeseen circumstance, that's a huge moment. And I know you've got a story.
I sure do. So if you're following along with Percolate, we're on the page 21, that little chapter, and it says time for a new flavor. And you can see we've put that on our slide there. If you don't have the book, that's fine. You're still welcome to join the conversation. You'll be able to see what we're talking about from our highlight slides. So acceptance, and in this, we're specifically talking about things that are within you or about you that you can't change. You know, I can change my hair color. I can change my career. I can change where I live. I can move houses. But there are some things that you can't change. And there's lots of different categories for that. But one of the things that I have had to work to accept, and many of you may know this, but I became a widow in 2020. So my husband passed away from cancer. I was 43. He was just shy of his 44th birthday. And I certainly lost him too young. So I've had to be working on accepting that. And that's one piece of the puzzle, and so much comes with it. But recently, I have been navigating a new bucket of acceptance, and it's even hard. I shared it with Elizabeth before we went live, and I said, I don't know if I'm ready to share this, but as a sharer and storyteller, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to let you know is that, I mean, I would never wish to become a widow, but now that I am at age 44, I was lamenting, and I said to Elizabeth, I hate that I'm 44. I wish that I was 24. Because I do think there's still a new, beautiful future for me, but I wish I was younger and getting the chance to embrace it. I feel a little old and it's so funny because I know a lot of my friends in widow circles and people who support me are older than me trying to navigate their future. So I feel a little bit selfish even saying that, but I recently have realized this, is that I feel robbed of the youthfulness that I had with then, and that whoever and whatever I do next in my future, I won't have that whole life of memories together with that one person. And that has been a new thing that I've been begrudging and aware of, and I'm working on that acceptance towards it.
Well, I think you just took the first step in saying it out loud. I think that's huge. And realizing it is another huge thing too. And, you know, so you're sort of allowing for that change to brew. You're allowing for those feelings. And, you know, I think you've got a healthy perspective too on it, because you know, we talk a lot about this too, and flipping the script a little bit. Right. And so what do you think you could say to yourself that would flip that script a little bit?
Yeah. And that's the work I've been doing. And that's where self-appreciation and mindset, the next 2 points we're going to talk around today, really come into play. And so self-appreciation is really me. And I've been doing journaling, and I've been talking to my coaches, and I've been talking to you, Elizabeth, and sharing is appreciating all of the time that we did get together and the life that I did beautifully have and enjoy. And just because there's a chapter that's ending doesn't mean that I don't get to look back fondly and with love. And I certainly do. And so I feel like I do speak out of both sides of my mouth about that a little bit. And I recognize that. But the work for me is in that mindset, saying to myself, you deserve happiness, you deserve a beautiful future, but you're also allowed to love and miss this future that you're not getting. And so those things together are what are helping me get to that acceptance. And I think on the logical side, I'm like, I know I can't change it as much as I want to. I can't change it. So the acceptance and the allowing is something that it's like in the brain part of my brain, I know it, but in the heart part of me, that's where the battle is, right? Because I do have that where I'm like, but it's not fair. And every time I hear myself start to say, but it's not fair, I have to go back to my mindset and acceptance. And then I say, yeah, you're right. It isn't fair, but it happened and I can't change it. Yeah. And so what are my choices?
Well, yeah, you actually have quite a few in how to be in each moment and appreciate the fact that you're 44 and you have, you know, a bright future ahead of you. And so maybe it's looking at 44 as not old. Maybe there's, you know, maybe there's different ways to look at that. Somebody must have along the way told you 44 was old because it sure sounds young to me.
But I think you're right. And that is part of the perspective too. I mean, I remember being in school and coming home and being like, my teacher is so old. And my mom being like, oh, how old is she? I was like 24, right? Like, yes, I couldn't believe it. And and so perception does change with that. And when I look at some of the people in our lives and people that we idolize and admire, and I think, you know, you just got your PhD in your 60s, you became an artist in your 70s, and people, I do think again, this part of me is like, yeah, 44 is so young. But the heart part of me that's kind of causing or creating these conversations and battles and so that is the battles of, you know, where I am and what's next and how do I find peace. And so that acceptance is just, I think there's acceptance in so many things in your life throughout your life too. And that acceptance and allowing, I love the word allow, is it's a constant.
Yeah, it sure is. There's not much more you can say about that other than it's just a constant. We're constantly navigating, we're constantly reframing, and that's probably a really good tool too for anybody looking at things that they want to change and if they feel stuck in their situation or they feel like something happened to them that feels unfair or whatever, you know, reframe that in gratitude and make a really long list of all the things that you are grateful for. And, you know, like having nearly lost my life to food allergies a couple times. One of the things I do, I wake up in the morning and go, oh, okay, you know, kind of thing. And it's as simple as that. I have another thing about me where I'm so grateful for just contacts. Sounds goofy. Contacts and glasses. My eyesight is negative 950 in each eye. So, and I'm not really going to be able to change that. I'm not a candidate for, you know, the I think it's LASIK surgery or whatever it's called. Yeah. Say that right? I'm not sure. But, you know, there's just a number of things that we are, and you can either just sit there and go down with the ship and feel like miserable and whiny and, you know, I don't know, tantrums or, you know, whatever it is, you can, you know, shake your fist at it or whatever, or you can be like, okay, I've got this going on and I'm going to move forward. And so, I think there is a place, and I think there is a place for allowing yourself, speaking of allowing yourself to go through that cycle of emotions. Yeah. Whine about it, wallow about it, scream about it, get angry, feel grief and sadness and experience that circle of feelings. But then this is the moment, this is when we talk about choice and when we talk about mindset is now you have that choice. I said, what choices do I have? And the answer to me is the choice is I could either stay here in this moment where I'm grappling and feeling a little bit sorry for myself and woe is me and my life has changed and it's not fair. I could stay there forever. That could be my story, and that could be the Kris story. People do.
Yeah. And we want to encourage you and inspire you. And certainly by modeling ourselves, the I do have that choice to put that next foot forward. I do have that choice to change my mindset and to strengthen my mindset. And with that comes my self-appreciation. And I just want to read a little snippet from Percolate that is on page 24. And it says, accepting what you can't change. It's important to accept that there are just some things you cannot change. There are poems, stories, and songs written about acceptance. And no matter how hard you wish, try, or hope to wake up one day and have whatever it is magically resolved or removed from your life, sometimes it just won't happen, and you need to accept it. And I think that's just a very direct, beautiful way of saying, this is what, and honestly, we both know from firsthand, this is what is going to serve you. This is what is going to heal you. This is what is going to allow you to deepen your professional growth and go forward, accepting.
Yeah, and I like the story in the book about Sarah Basie, and Sarah Basie is a really good friend of mine, who she basically got terribly burned in a helicopter accident in the state of Minnesota. She was on, she's a business owner, a construction business owner, and she was taking her company up in helicopter tours of their new facilities. And she was the last helicopter up, and it crashed and burned. She's a burn survivor. Just, I can't remember the percentage that she's burned, because you'd have to be on here to tell, but 80%, 90%, very severe burn survivor. And I met her looking on a website called Mrs. International, because she decided to enter a pageant I was in. And I looked at her and I saw her eyes, and I was like, wow, I wrote her an email, and I'm like, you have the most beautiful green eyes I've ever seen in my life. Just absolutely stunning. And I hadn't even read her story. I'm just like, I hope you win the pageant. You're it, kind of thing. And then I read her story, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so she came on, and she told me that when this happened to her, she was in the hospital trying to survive and all these things. And she held a mirror up to her face, and she saw her own eyes. And she decided to set a timer on her woe is me and live.
Yeah.
And persevere and fight and change your mindset and having anything, imagine being a burn survivor in a pageant of all things. And she won the whole thing.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. The strength would have taken for her to do that is truly incredible. Like, I love inspirational stories like that. That warms my heart. I just got little goosebumps listening to you talk about that, because that is beautiful. It does take strength. And I know we have people who are in our network who often say to us, but I'm stuck. I don't know how to do that. And the answer is, it's constant work. It's daily gratitude. It's daily looking for those moments to celebrate. And as you start to celebrate, and as you start to embrace more gratitude and joyfulness, I think you have two choices at the beginning of the day. Are you going to embrace gratitude, or are you going to hide from it or embrace fear, or whatever the other choice is? And even if you think, well, I'm not doing either, I think that's a disservice to you as well. I think we need to start our days setting ourselves up. And Elizabeth and I are huge proponents of a gratitude practice. Start your day. She just talked about it, waking up and being like, grateful she's breathing, grateful she's alive. And that,
in there.
Yeah. And one of the simplest ways for me, if you're someone who's in a gratitude practice and you're stuck, or if you're new at it, ask yourself this question: what makes me smile? And you can start with simple things, moments, memories, people. And it doesn't have to be, sometimes people think a gratitude practice is this big weighty thing. It can be very simple, but even if it's simple, consistency is key, and you're going to find that impact.
And rooting in it as your guide, so that you know that when you move away from it, when you start to drift, you can come back to it and count on it. And maybe like for me, I know 5 things that I can root in gratitude. And I'll go there if I start to feel myself waver, and I've got them written down. I've got reminders, because I just as much as the next person get a little bit lost here and there and find my way back to gratitude. But the other thing I think that you make this point too a lot is that it doesn't have to be your story's worse than anybody else's either. I mean, the Sarah Basie story is an extreme circumstance and an extreme story, and we realize people are all over it. You might feel equally as bad as Sarah did, just from a situation of, like losing a job, or, there's so many different things that have that same response of feeling completely stuck or sad, or like it's never going to change, never going to happen for me, whatever it is. a variety of things can bring you back to that same point.
Yeah. I think that is such a great point. And two things I want to say about that. One is, yeah, comparing doesn't serve, because what you feel is what you feel. And you're allowed, speaking of acceptance, to feel what you feel, as big as you feel about whatever your item is. Certainly in my journey of losing my husband, I would talk to people shortly after that were friends or in my circle, and they would say, oh, I'm having a terrible day. You know, this, I'm so sorry. I'm not having a terrible day as you. And I was like, no, stop right now. Tell me about your hangnail. What is going on? I still have the compassion and the need to listen and help and love. And I also, there isn't a scale. If there is, it's me with me. It's not me with you, right? And if you, like Elizabeth said, so in looking at that, really allow yourself to feel and do what you need to do. In fact, I'll take us to the next slide, because we're looking at—
I'm going to add one more thing. I got to add one more thing, because you make this point too, and I think it's super valid here too, is that what might have worked for Sarah might not work for everybody else. It's a technique, it's a tactic, it's a so forth. And so I would really invite people to explore, like if you are going through something like that, if setting a timer works for you and at that moment you decide, like a light switch, you're not going to do that anymore, great. Some people need to practice at that, or just let it flow. I know the other day you were like, I'm going to say this out loud, I hope you don't mind, and if you do, sorry. But the other day you were like, I'm just crying, I'm having a day, and you drove right over to your sister's house or whatever that you did. Talk about that, because that wasn't like set a timer and like 1 minute you think you're okay and then something just triggers it.
Yeah. And that was the thing too. I remember that day I was having a tough day. I just woke up feeling off, and there's no other, I don't have big, beautiful words to describe it. It's like my heart was sad. My shoulders were heavy. My house was extremely quiet, and I just didn't feel good. And as I sat there thinking about it, I started to think about and really miss Ben. And I kind of thought, I think this is one of those moments where I had tried to log on, I had tried to do a little work, and I wasn't being productive. I was staring into space, and I was like, I need to make a decision to accept this moment and this feeling, not beat myself up for not working, talk to my team, talk to my peers, and say, I need more time on this project. I need to go do something to take care of it. Yeah. And I called my sister, and she was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, I'm coming over. Like, I just waterworks, and I had to get myself together. I drove an hour, got to her house. And honestly, it was the best thing. She said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. And so she just put a little blanket on me, brought me a cup of tea. I sat on the couch, and I don't know. The beginning, I didn't do much. I just sort of sat there, and she just sort of sat there, and she was doing busy work around me. And I think that's all I needed, was that little piece, that little sense of community, which for me, it was partly what I needed was leaving the house. Partly what I needed was allowing myself to feel that, because you see me online and I'm often the champion for sparkling and joy, but it doesn't come without the reality of other things happening. And I will happily, Elizabeth, you're welcome to share anything about me that I have shared, because I do believe that storytelling and that sharing is one of the, I said there was two things I wanted to mention, and this is the other one, is that whatever you're going through or whatever you're dealing with, you're not alone. And your story doesn't have to be my story for you to resonate and say, I heard what you said and that spoke to me. And you don't have to be a 43-year-old widow with that experience to go, oh, I like what you said. Or you don't have to be a level 51-year-old with a allergy to listen to Elizabeth and go, oh, I like what she said. You don't have to be like Sarah's story, striving to be in a pageant with burn, like whatever your story is, whatever your thing is, that's just fine. But you can still resonate with us sharing. And that's part of the goal of our conversations.
I know with me, again, I had got life-threatening food allergies in my late 20s, and it was like a switch went, okay, you're suddenly going to be allergic to almonds, tree nuts, peanuts, fish, and shellfish, and it just is. And people have written me, suggested, emailed, and everything, like, you could do this and this and this and this, and it's like, no, I have this. So it's not going away. I have this. And I was really, really mad. I'll go with mad, upset and everything. And I took sitting in there with my dad being so ill, and in that moment to just be like, oh, if he can survive this, I can get a different attitude about this. And it was really an interesting paradigm paradigm shift for me. And up to that point, I had hidden the fact that I had allergies from my employer. I refused to wear my medical alert. I don't know if you can see it. I refused to wear my medical alert so people couldn't see it, and everything. I was like, I felt like the only human being in the whole wide world with life-threatening food allergies. I mean, really, just truly alone. And I think that's one of the most special things about the Best Ever You Network, because that was one of the reasons why I started it, was to not feel that way. I'm like, I don't really care if you have food allergies or not, whatever. I'm certain that we all have things about us that we don't like, we don't want to accept, we're stuck accepting whatever it is. I'm sure there's a community of people that have things, know things, have navigated change, all these things. So it's been a beautiful community. And I think you could pretty much voice anything in our conversations group and say, hey, this is going on with me. And a ton of people will show up for you. Yeah. Don't you think?
I do. And one of the other things that I really enjoy, I really like, and I know Elizabeth does too, is when we talk about things, and some of you are not storytellers, are not sharers and speakers, and you're not comfortable maybe sharing on social media, but you've written us privately, and then we'll have a conversation, and then there's value not just for you, but other people listening as well. And that's part of what we celebrate within our community, is we're like, how can we bring these thoughts and ideas and concerns and issues and everything to light in our own unique, beautiful way, with the message, be brave, be bold, be you. You can see there written up there, it says time for a new flavor. That is part of this chapter, and part of what the heart of our coaching is if it's time for a new flavor, take a look at these 3 things. What can you do working towards acceptance? It's a tall order. Very easy for me to go, bullet point number 1. I know it takes a lot. Acceptance is not overnight. It takes work. And self-appreciation, same thing, but you have to start somewhere. You have to start with, that first little step and be like, what am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? What do I appreciate about myself? And flip that script. Same with mindset. You don't just love yourself. If you do, and you are great, we applaud you. We champion that. We want that for you, because we know firsthand a strong, healthy mental mindset brings you so much peace, allows you to have joy and navigate difficult times a little easier.
We need other people for our mindset, setting, for lack of a better word, too, because, for example, I think you and I always talk about this. We both lost our best complimenters. When I lost my dad, it was like, my dad, you could have, strep throat and 105-degree fever, and he'd be like, you look great, kind of thing, or whatever. And you were saying that the other day too, and I was like, oh, you look so pretty and cute, and look at that color on you and everything. And you're like, thank you. Ben always used to compliment me.
This is a new color for me. I, in my life, have never worn orange, and I bought this, and I'm like, oh my, I'm an orange girl. I had no idea. I love it. Orange, maybe hot orange is the ticket, but in any event, the complimenter for me was my mom, and she passed away in 2018, and your dad passed away in 2019. And so losing that really, really important parent, and like, again, my mom was the same. I would be ponytail to the side, like makeup smeared, pajamas mismatched, toast and mustard on my sweater. And she would just be like, you're the most beautiful girl in Western Canada, or whatever. But unabashedly, and even more beyond the superficial things, and I know your dad was the same, when I'm starting projects, when I'm writing a book, when I'm hosting or speaking, she's like, people need to hear you speak. They can't wait to hear you speak. You're an incredible speaker. You are the light of your lives. And the messaging from my mom was always so elevated, and sometimes off the charts. Sometimes I remember being like, dial it down, like, cool it. I know I'm great, but really having that cheerleader, and then having that cheerleader be taken away from you. I think that's when I felt a lot of that impact, where I'm like, I really miss the shenanigans and the extra celebratory stuff and the things the light that she brought to me in that.
Voicemails from my dad that I'll listen to when I'm having, whatever. But, when it was so interesting to me too, because when in 2018, he was in the hospital the entire year. And I always go back and forth between Maine and Minnesota. And throughout his stays in and out of the hospital, the hospitals got to know him and said he was the ICU warrior, that kind of thing. And so the mindset he had was commendable, and you could learn from it and so forth, no matter what he was going through. I mean, no matter what, he would always smile at you. and from his hospital bed, he would wonder how you were doing. It was a lesson. I'm like, oh, I'm here to find out how you're doing, kind of thing. I don't really care about me, but he'd be like, oh, don't worry about me, kind of thing. Let's talk about you. Just a really different, just a different perspective. I'm like, oh, okay. And I don't, go ahead. I can feel you wanting to chime in.
Oh, that's okay. I'm always ready to talk. You know me. I'm like, always a measure. But I mean, it's beautiful that we had that experience, and we have certainly been able to celebrate you with your dad and me with my mom, the beautiful times and moments and whatnot. And that has been a beautiful part of both of our lives and histories. But I think one of the things that we look at too is when you look at the list here, the acceptance, appreciation, and mindset, one of the keywords there is self. Because not everybody has or had or experienced a cheerleader in the way that you and I did. And we're blessed for it. And we both know it. And we feel it acutely when we miss them. But we also know that the self-work we do is just as valuable, and that is where the strength and the true acceptance comes from and needs to come from. And it's it's an ongoing, continuous journey. And every time I think, oh yeah, I've got this nailed down, I'm an acceptor, I'm a self-appreciator, I've got mindset, then something will happen that shakes my world a little. And so I do know for a fact that this is a constant thing. And I love it, because one thing I feel that we both champion is constant self-development. Elizabeth and I plan to be 94 and 101, sitting on the porch, still having these conversations, talking about how we can do better.
At 90, yeah.
Is that right? That's right. Yeah.
Whatever, it's close enough. You can make yourself 20 years younger if you want, even. It's kind of cute. But that gap keeps getting wider and wider on Kris's part. She's like, it's cute. It's like what I do to Peter. I'll take a picture with my husband and I'll run him through the aging filter. And not me. Cracks me up. Like, whatever. Anyway, on page 23, I think we could do a little bit of our Percolate Daily here and then sort of wrap up. But if you want to, I don't know. I think we've got one more slide though too. But I think we should take people through some affirmations. Do you want to do a little Percolate Daily where I repeat? Let's put our hands on our heart. Can you do other hands on the heart and you do the book? How's that sound? And they go on 23 and the top of 24.
Okay, perfect. So in affirmations, we ask you to put your hands to your heart. When you connect with yourself and you repeat phrases out loud, they resonate stronger and they become more meaningful within you. So repeat after me. I accept myself.
I accept myself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I accept those around me.
I accept those around me.
I am compassionate.
I am compassionate.
I accept my flaws.
I accept my flaws.
I am worth it.
I am worth it.
I appreciate my life.
I appreciate my life.
I lovingly take care of myself.
I lovingly take care of myself.
I am awesome.
I am awesome.
I threw that last one in. It wasn't. I feel like we needed to do that. Yeah. So those are just one example of mantras. And when Elizabeth and I run a daily, Percolate Daily, that's about 3 minutes long, where you follow along, we do a little body inventory and we say mantras, and they change all the time. But the benefit of that, like I said, is that when you are working on mindset, when you are working on loving yourself and being your best, that is one of the tools that we daily use. And honestly, every time Elizabeth and I do that daily video, it sets me up. I'm like, oh,
yeah, me too.
I feel better. And some mornings, and I know she could tell, we'll start our day. We'll always do a little pre-video and be like, hey, how are you doing? And often it's lovely. And it's like coffee and we're talking and there's a cat and everything. But sometimes my mind is like a spinning Tasmanian. And we get on and she's like, hi, how are you? I'm like, listen, these are the 17 things we need to do. And these are the 4 mistakes I found. And this is the thing we have to correct. And we got to go right now. And, blah, 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 and I will, is this an accurate hello? And,
I do the same thing.
Like, I will have just like those toys. You pull the thing in the back and let it go. And I'm like,
I like to go, I'll have other meetings and I like to, oops, my watch just went off again. My Mickey Mouse watch. I'll go to other meetings and I'll come back to the meeting and I'll complain to Kris about the length of the meeting or how it was run or whatever. She's like, listen, my meetings are 7 minutes and 46 seconds. And if people don't like it, just funny thing. So, but I like the self-appreciation. I think one of the things, and we were writing about teams today and talking about teams. I think one of the things that, whether it's yourself or your team or whatever, the ability to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and be able to vocalize those so that somebody knows what they are and can compliment you, because that's really what it's all about. We fill in each other's gaps.
Yeah.
Or we have the same thing and we go boom, higher. So it's all about that. If in every relationship you have, if you can just take a step back, pause, and just accept people for it's a tall order again. Accept people for who they are, in all regards.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and it's really cool too. Like if you've ever, like I've been married for I don't know how long now. I think we're about to celebrate 23 years or 22 years or whatever. It's cool. But one of the things that we do is we do that. We know each other's. I know how to press every button in his elevator if I want to, but we navigate together, and we take a step back and go, okay, that's happening, and we go, oh, okay, we're gonna go do this or that. And but you navigate through this, I think. What do you add? Keep going.
No, I think that's beautiful that you say that one thing we want to inspire you to do. In fact, this is, I think, the challenge for you from this, task from this conversation on self-appreciation. It says right there, you can see it. It's okay to be proud of yourself. And I would like to inspire you, and I know we're going to do it right after, is write a list of the things that you are proud of, things you've accomplished, things that you do. Like, I am proud of being an amazing storyteller. I am proud of having nice, big, beautiful energy. And I know when I walk into a room, I can light up the room with my energy, with my presence, with my hello, with my sincere greetings and joyfulness to be there in a room full of people. Now, it's been a while since I've been in a room full of people, but that is a couple of things that I'm proud of. I'm a good writer. I'm a great cook. And so writing down things that you were proud of. When was the last time you did it? It doesn't matter. If it was yesterday, do it again. If it's been a while, time for you to get your little peacock feathers out and write down some things that you were proud of. And they can be small. Are you an incredible grilled cheese sandwich maker? And
yes, I am actually.
I set off my smoke alarm all the time. I am derelict. I leave it. I walk. I get distracted by the cat. Ben used to tease me that the smoke alarm was called the toast alarm because I would make toast and forget about it. Start a grilled cheese sandwich and forget about it. Everything else, I'm an incredible cook. I think it's because of the simplicity of a grilled cheese sandwich. I was like, I'll just be back. And then I would forget. And the toast alarm would go off, AKA the smoke detector, because my pan is smoking. And he would just sit there calmly and go, the sandwich is ready. And it would be black on the back. So I'm like,
I'm driving grilled cheese sandwich maker.
You will not see me writing grilled cheese on my list. I will write down green Thai curry. I am proud of the green Thai curry that I make and my Greek ribs, but it will not be grilled cheese. But go ahead and do that. Write down the list of things you're proud of. If you have a couple things and you're like, I want to share this list, we would love to hear that. We love to hear what your challenges are, what your problems are, but we also want to celebrate. So if you just want to write us and say, I am incredible at keeping socks together. Never have I done a load of laundry where one went missing. Woo! That's a gold medal.
I kind of want them over here with my frat house I live in with my 5 boys. Okay, so I have one thing I wrote down as you were talking. I think this might be good, and if it's not, let me know. But I think every flaw we have has a value somewhere. Think about that.
I agree.
And if you thought about your flaws differently, if you like, if you're going like, I'm the most impatient person in the world, but you're like, but wait, that serves a cool purpose. There's value there somewhere. Because, what do you think about that?
I think that you've hit a really interesting nail on the head. And here's why I immediately agreed. Because things that have been said to me that I used to take on as a little bit of a slight or a hurt, I realized it's all about that other person's perspective, or in fact mine. And here's my example. Someone said to me once, you talk too much. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's true. I talk too much. I have to be quiet. I met another friend. We went blah, blah, blah. At the end, she said, I'm so glad you were there because lots of us didn't know each other and we weren't talking and we didn't know what to say. And you broke the ice and made us all so comfortable. Thank you for talking so much. The exact same quality a totally different perspective about it. And so learning and hearing things like that and other things like that have come up in my life, but that is one that has just resonates with me when I think about that. And so when someone is, you know, I was coaching a woman who said to me, I'm so tired of people saying you're too this, you're too that, you're too this, you're too that. And she was very sensitive. And lots of us are, and that's fine. And I said to her, you know, two things. Number one, if you're to this, think to yourself, according to who? Is this the audience that matters? Because you talk too much. The first person who said it to me, according to who? According to you. Is it because you needed peace and quiet? Is it because you wanted to talk? Like there's going to be more behind it. And then the second person, right? And so with that, according to who? Fine. And in replying to that, when somebody says that to me now, and it still gets said to me, they're like, gosh, you talk a lot, or you talk too much. One of the things I'll reply is this. I'll say, yes, I do talk a lot. And it's either a character flaw or part of my charm. I haven't really decided yet. And I'll just kind of leave it open because I don't need to defend it. I don't need to change it. I've exactly said that. I'm like, it's either part of a character flaw or part of my charm. You decide. You decide what you value it, because I know what I value it, and I totally value it. It's a huge part of me. So I think when you said that they could be both, now I'm trying to think of another quality and be like, does this work with other qualities or just talking too much? But no, I think it works with everything.
Yeah, and I'll sometimes get, you're too quiet. My whole life, you're too quiet. You don't talk enough. And it's like, I'm listening. Dang it, I'm listening.
And you know what I need? You know what I need? Listeners, because you know what I do? Talk a lot.
and it just cracks me up. So I challenge everyone to really take it, no matter how old you are, take a look at, just soul search for a second. Take a look at something somebody has said to you that has maybe shaped the way you tiptoe around other people in whatever way it is. And I want you, like, from this moment right now, I want you to take what that flaw, that perceived flaw is, and write down every single value that it has. Because somebody said, "Oh my gosh, so I remember this." Somebody said, "You write way too much. Just God, your emails are forever. Stop," kind of thing. And I'm like, oh. And so then I'm like, well, now I don't know what to write, kind of thing, right? You don't know whether to be quiet or whatever. I mean, but on and on and on. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's my gift. Mm-hmm. Book idea, kind of thing. So your dream is to be on stage. What are you doing on stage, Kris? Are you going to stand there and be quiet? Not really. No. You better be pretty loud, or, right?
Yeah. Bring your blankets. If you think I'm too loud, you just need to make yourself a little sound tent. So that's a funny story I just posted recently about my husband and my cat. When we got Mia, she was a little baby, tiny, tiny kitten. And I came into the living room. He was sitting on the couch with a blanket over the two of them. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm just making a little sound tent because I think your voice is too loud for the kitten." I was like, that kitten is in the wrong house, then she's going to have to adjust. And adjust she did. But it was just a cute story. But yes, I will be on stage. I will be loud. I will be just
here's what you're going to be is you. Everything about you. And we're going to love it.
Yeah.
And so the phrase says who, right?
Yeah, according to who.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to remember our chat with Sophie. I know we can be done now, but I remember our chat with Sophia Nelson too.
Yeah.
What are the words? Remember your value, know your worth, stand proudly in that, no matter what's coming at you. Because, you're subject to people's criticism. Okay, well, says who?
Yeah. And then to circle it back and get that self-appreciation where you're like, yes, I talk a lot, but it isn't necessarily negative, even though you've tried to paint it to me in a negative. You don't get to do that. I get to appreciate and be proud of that. So as a reminder here, go ahead.
But that's you in their box.
Yes.
And not, you're in your own box.
Yeah.
That's them trying to put you in their box and keep you there. And it's like, So who's in your box, Kris?
Yeah, right. You are in your own soapbox, your own box. I don't care if you're in a dodecahedron shaped, whatever it is, you decide.
We'll work on that talk. Who's in your box?
Like I said, mine's a dodecahedron 3D. Mine is not a box. But in looking at this conversation, and thank you, Elizabeth, we have covered a beautiful circle talking about acceptance, learning how to allow for things, letting things just be, finding peace. So that acceptance, keep working towards acceptance, just working towards allow, accept, and find peace.
Yeah, pulling this up.
Yeah, and then self-appreciation. So these are the three. I was reading those. Then okay,
I'm going back. We're getting choppy here at the end, and it's okay. Our people are with us still, so 2 more minutes or so.
Yeah, we're just going to summarize. So the second one there, self-appreciation. It's okay to be proud of yourself. Be loving and grateful to yourself. And like we said, go ahead and write that list. What are the things that you're proud of? What have you accomplished and done? Celebrate you and appreciate you. And I'll let Elizabeth talk about mindset because I'm nice like that.
Well, we always say moments matter, and embrace your space, I would say, and train your mind to embrace the positive. And if you got negative coming at you, embrace that too, and turn that criticism into a value and stand proudly in it. I just think that's so important. Says who? So smile, be kind, and be grateful, because we all need each other.
Yeah,
we do.
That's true. So here we are, percolating, allowing for change, allowing, accepting. We hope that you have enjoyed our conversation. We love hearing from you. We look forward to the messages that we get. We always appreciate that. And I think that's us signing off. Bye for now.
Yeah. And if you want more, we're at besteveryou.com/coaching. That's where all of our coaching stuff is. So thanks for listening. Take care, everybody.
Bye for now.